guess whoever wants to start can start.
Well, before that, hello, everyone who's watching, whether you're in America, Canada, anywhere else in the world. I know there's only like 4 people who watch this, but whatever, we're going to be friendly.
Help, I'm trapped in a laundry hamper. Somebody please come get me out.
Yes, the Tino is starring for his upcoming role in the remake of the movie The Mangler.
Oh, boy. It's method acting.
So, no questions, but I have 2 quick plugs. The first one, are you having computer trouble? Is your BIOS not working? You have other questions that you just can't figure out? Well, my friends.
Try OxyClean.
Well, no, that would actually destroy your computer. I would recommend making having someone make you an offer you can't refuse. Computer Mafia, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is quick, professional, and very reasonably priced. Whenever I've had problems with my computer in the past, he has solved them in a very short period of time. Very professional. He does a lot of jobs. He also does things like mounting TVs and hooking up home audio systems. So if you are in the Philadelphia area or adjacent to it, definitely give him a call. We will link his information in the video description. The second plug, Cape May Brewing Company has brought back one of my favorite beers, the Key Lime Corrosion. It just got released again. It's only going to be out for months. It's a seasonal. It's a lime sour beer. It kind of tastes like a key lime pie. It's not overly sweet.
I was half expecting it to taste like. I was half expecting it to taste like rust.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to make you think, but I swear, it does not taste like rust.
Inside.
Will is here desperately trying to get us sponsorships.
I really am.
Yeah, he's on the hustle.
Yeah. Actually, there's a third plug. Raid Shadow Legends.
No.
Dude, okay, hold the fucking phone. If we were making Raid Shadow Legends money, do you really think we'd be advertising anything else?
Yeah, dude, come on.
Yes.
Let's just do RuneScape and get it over with.
Look, we're trying to maximize profits here, you know?
So I'm actually, speaking of phone games, that's something that I want to briefly mention as well.
Is this going to be goddamn Wordle?
No, that's something.
Okay.
And not on this episode either. I have other stuff I want to talk about, but I want to talk about phone games in the future. Point. Just because I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. And, wow, you really do not need to spend money in that game.
Yeah.
Like, they give you a lot to work with, just with, like, the events you could do to earn gems. So, yeah, if you
it's like a drug dealer did the free sample part for a gacha and then forgot to do the rest of the part where they stopped giving you free samples.
I mean, they still have things where you could buy gems, but I mean, like, it's...
But you don't need to do your pulls.
Yeah, and then the other thing, too, is that right now they have, like, things you could buy gems, and it's, like, for gems you would normally be able to get for that price. And it's like, oh, this is a limited offer. Okay, it's going to be around for, like, what, 3 days? No, like 42 days. So, you have time to really contemplate your options.
Out of curiosity, does it still use the standard ban list, or...?
Yeah, it's all updated ban list at all times.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as the new ban list drops, the game updates and you get the new ban list. So I've really been enjoying it so far. Even with my terrible decks, I've actually made it up to silver rank already. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
Nice.
so no pot of greed for you, Vicky. Okay?
Yeah.
Shit,
Pot
but I
of
have
greed is
Cyberjar, man.
overpowered bullshit.
What? I can't run 3.
The pot of greed stays in the garage, sweetheart.
I can't run 3
wait.
copies of
no downside.
Wait a second, but how does anybody know what Pot of Greed does? They have to explain it each episode. Clearly, it can't be that good.
Look, it's going to take us too long to explain what it does, so we'll save that for another podcast episode. We'll have one episode where we just explain what Pot of Greed does.
Let me tell you like this. What's at the end of the rainbow? It's a trick. Those leprechauns are up to no good.
Yes, Warwick Davis can testify to that.
Wait, are we talking about the Aqua Teen episode?
I was talking about the movie Leprechaun.
Oh, well, I was talking about the Aqua Teen episode when Carl gets taken away by the rainbow, and then they steal his gold chains, and then they beat the shit out of him.
Look, when we started this, I told you.
What's going on?
Look, when I told you that I was not Irish, and I was from Rhode Island, and I was half Korean, and you said that it didn't matter.
Oh, we got that banana tape without the case. We really scored big on that one, didn't we? All right, but anyway, so, Tino,
Yes.
do you have anything that you wish could come true? Like any heart's desire right now?
I wish I had a bigger room to record in.
Well, if you wish you had a bigger room to record in, what if I told you that I could help you make that wish come true right now?
Okay.
See,
What's the catch?
well, you have to enter a tournament. Now,
Oh, gosh,
Tino,
what kind of Squid Game nonsense are you up to?
no, Tino, you don't listen. You don't need entering this tournament. You don't need to have like galaxy-busting martial arts abilities like Dragon Ball. You don't need to have like a super zero-turn kill deck like in Yu-Gi-Oh. You don't even need to have an encyclopedic knowledge of random trivia questions like in Jeopardy. All you need is a wish that you want granted and a working vehicle you could drive in a demolition derby. Tino.
Is this a Twisted Metal thing? What?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Welcome to Twisted Metal.
Oh, no.
I like to point out that Twisted Metal takes the premise of like 3 different shonen anime tournament series that I've heard of. And like,
I forgot that Twisted Metal had a story.
Yeah, it does.
Because I was like 12 when I played that game, and I just wanted to blow stuff up. I didn't know that there was a story until later.
So,
yeah, like Twisted Metal, like I only know that as the card game with the clown.
Yep, sweet tooth.
The card game. Oh, the car game. I think
Car game, car.
Yeah. Well, the ice cream truck.
So,
Sweet Tooth.
Fucking
Yep.
yeah.
Who has gotten crazier over time. But we're going to start, the reason why this popped in my mind. So, Twisted Metal, the very first game came out in like the, not early, but like the mid-90s, like right at the beginning of the PlayStation's life cycle. And I actually found, if you play the original Twisted Metal, when you beat the game of, when you beat any Twisted Metal, for the most part, except for I think the most recent one, that was on the PS3. Whatever character you play as, if you beat the game, you get an end screen. And the end screen...
like an arcade ending in a fighting game.
Yeah, it tells you or shows you what happened. Now, in almost every game, it gives you like a little movie of what happened in Twisted Metal. But in the first game, it's just like a text-based ending. Except I found on YouTube, someone released all the unused video endings of the original Twisted Metal. And these are live action. Calypso still hasn't really gotten his look down yet. He has like this burnt face. He's surrounded by like beautiful women who look like strippers, and for some reason, shirtless guys who look like they were rejected from the casting call of Duke Nukem all holding automatic weapons. It's implied that this guy is very heavily connected, and the whole
sounds like
premise,
a villain from The Matrix.
Kinda. But he's very heavily connected, and basically win the tournament, and you get your wish granted. But Tino, what do you think the little asterisk is at the end of you get your wish granted?
In a way that you don't expect. And the reason I know this is because you played one of the Twisted Metal games when we were roommates together at Temple. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know how Twisted Metal works, kind of, because I saw a couple of the story segments.
Your whole premise was you were going to tell Tino about Twisted Metal. And he's like, we played it together before, right?
Oh no, he saw me play the most recent one. So
okay.
Twisted Metal,
most recent at the time.
So Twisted Metal, the monkey's paw curls down a finger every time when you win, because the guy who runs the game is an asshole.
Well, it goes a little deeper than that. So, the first game, it's supposed to be set in, I think, like the year 2004 or something, and it takes place in Los Angeles.
The distant year, I do want to say something on that. The distant year, the never seen year of 2004.
Yes,
that caused me so much pain.
Where people had the technology to put like missile launchers and flamethrowers in the hood of their car and still have it go at like 300 miles an hour down the streets of LA.
I mean, technically, we've had that technology since the 70s. It's just no one actually tried it.
Well, no, I think the part that's fictional is the 300 miles per hour thing. That shit's heavy, man.
Well, I thought they did that on like the.
Have you never
on
watched?
I thought they did that on the lake bed of like Nevada or whatever. They had like a rocket car or something.
Well,
You guys thinking about
no.
Mythbusters?
No, missiles launchers are heavy.
Oh, missile launchers. I thought we were
Have
I
you
was
guys
talking
never
about,
watched NASCAR? You can make a car go that fast.
Yeah, I was talking about the 300 miles an hour.
Yeah,
thing.
no, you can make that car go fast after you strip out most of its interior and most of its excess weight.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
That shit's heavy, man.
So Twisted Metal.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Twisted Metal was always interesting because it had this unique casting characters that like always just seemed like, wow, I can't believe some of the crazy stuff in there. Sweet Tooth was already mentioned. He's like the psychotic clown who literally drives an ice cream truck into battle, and he throws like explosive ice cream at people.
Sounds like an afternoon playing Grand Theft Auto to me.
Yeah, I get the feeling that this is part of the inspiration for some of the later games to an extent. Some of the driving mechanics feel similar, but there's other interesting characters. Like, for example, the character Outlaw. In the first Twisted Metal, he's a cop who's trying to clean up the streets of L.A., and Sweet Tooth tricks him into... He basically wishes for a world where there's no, like, Twisted Metal, no crime or whatever. And Sweet Tooth Calypso basically sends him into space.
Whoops.
Yep. Which is funny because when you play Twisted Metal 2, his sister is actually in the game, and she takes up the moniker Outlaw, and she, when she makes her wish, gets sent into space as well. However, knowing that Calypso is a tricky bastard, she outfitted her car with rocket boosters, so she flies back to Earth with her brother to end Twisted Metal.
Okay.
That is some anime shit
like-
right there.
Now,
Continuity in arcade endings.
Now, there's several things about Twisted Metal I wanted to bring up, such as, first off, the colorful cast of characters. Obviously, whenever you have any kind of, I'm going to just say fighting games, because Twisted Metal, in a sense, is a fighting game.
In a loose sense, but yeah.
It's a battle game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whenever you have a fighting game, you want to have a rich, diverse, crazy cast of characters that all have different abilities, personalities, and Twisted Metal is not lacking this at all. There's Mr. Grimm, the old general who wants to become young again so he can lead soldiers into war. There's Axel, the dude who literally fused into his giant two-wheeled vehicle. And now I'm pulling from Twisted Metal 2, obviously. And then there's Mr. Slam, a dude who literally just drives a construction vehicle that can grab your vehicle and pick it up and slam it on the ground.
Okay, so
I remember playing that one. Yeah.
So that dude sounds like he should be a character in a different fighting game called Battle Construction Vehicles. That is a legendarily bad, like, was it PS1 or PS2 Japanese fighting game, localized by a British company. So all the characters in the English dub sound like they are fucking British, and it is not great, but it is hilarious.
Well, that's... Honestly, now I just want to play this game.
Well, yeah, no, look it up. Battle Construction Vehicles. You can find usually 1001 emulators.
All right, I'm going to have to check into this. But part of why I'm bringing up this series is because I've heard whisperings that there's actually going to be a TV series about this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to
Out
run
of-
another game.
Way out of left
you know what?
field.
If it was a movie, I'd say, yeah, I'm not hopeful for this, but we did our episode about Welcome to Raccoon City. I think I mentioned the point that I think, you can't really take a video game series and just turn it into a movie because there's too much to cover.
Right.
Twisted Metal, I think, could work as a series because I think they did that one thing back in like the mid 2010s where they started doing like trailers from Combat where you just see different character bios being elaborated on as though it's being done in like a TV series. And that looked like it would have had a lot of promise. I don't know whatever happened to it. I didn't keep up with it.
I think that was
I
think that was the purpose of it. There was like a small series that was about Scorpion's backstory. And I think it was just a web series, but it was very well done.
Yeah. So I think a TV series could be interesting.
Did you guys see the new Mortal Kombat movie? Did anybody see it?
I did. It wasn't bad.
I didn't know there was a new Mortal Kombat movie.
I didn't really enjoy it. I think there were a lot of things wrong with it. I mean, we could go into it now if you want, or we can talk about it later. But
I'll talk about it
think-
later just because I want to finish some Twisted Metal stuff.
I think
first.
we need to watch that movie first and then talk.
Go ahead. Yeah, because I think that there's some some aspects of the Mortal Kombat movie that I think would have the same issues with Twisted Metal. But go ahead.
So, one of the things that I noticed, being a big fan of Twisted Metal and seeing what happened to the games over the years, is that the first two are, without a doubt, obviously Twisted Metal 2, I don't think any fan would argue is the best Twisted Metal. You have stages all over the world. You could do things like, hey, you're at like this government UFO base, and you could teleport around the arena. At one point, you're fighting in Paris, and you can actually blow up the Eiffel Tower and turn it into a bridge to get to another part of the map. At one point, you're fighting literally on the rooftops of New York City. I think part of that map actually...
Great place to put a semi-trailer.
But I mean, part of it involves actually, and this is how dated this game is, I think part of the arena is you could actually drive or warp to you're on top of the World Trade Center.
Right.
Yeah.
That is forever ago.
Being able to do something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's an interesting series because, like, with different fighting games, not just the characters, but you want to have a good collection of stages.
Mm-hmm.
I think Twisted Metal 2 did that very well. But the first two games are interesting because there's like a chaotic evil to them. Like, Calypso always twists your wish no matter what it is. I think there's one where when Mr. Grimm wishes that he had the body of like a 20-year-old man, his body gets young again, but his head stays old and like still decrepit.
Oof.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy things with it, but Calypso is one of those parts of metal that I always felt was very interesting because he's almost this weird. He almost comes off as like this weird wish granted. He's like a djinn in a sense, but it's very heavily hinted that he might be like the devil in a way.
That's the impression I got when I watched whatever version you guys were playing at Temple. I was is this guy Satan? But they're calling him Calypso.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought Calypso was a goddess, not a god. What's going on here? I was very confused because I was trying to make sense of a lore that seems to be inspired by narcotics.
It's a standard thing in fiction of the wish granter gives you your wish, but with an evil twist thing, the monkey's paw.
Yeah,
as we said earlier.
So
it sounds to me like he's that figure that Ricardo Montalban, that was the name of the actor, like the guy from Fantasy Island.
Khan. He's just Khan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mephistopheles. Like,
so
it's like a Faustian bargain every time he does something, but they don't know they're making it.
Right. So the other thing that I always found interesting about Calypso is that, in the first two games, he's very, like, evil, but he's very chaotic about his evilness. Like, he's not evil for the sake of being evil. He's evil because he finds it amusing. And not just because he's watching death and destruction. He seems to get the most pleasure out of granting a wish that'll really mess with someone. And then, of course, the first two games I said were the best, but that's because they felt the most lighthearted despite all the destruction and chaos. Then, I forget what studio did the first two. But then it got taken away from them, and it got moved to Sony's in-house studio, 989 Studio. And this is where the series, I felt, started to really decline.
I would like to point out that 989 Studios is a studio that probably does not exist anymore.
Oh, no, it's dead. It's long since dead.
Noted.
But, so what happened was, there were some cool things about it. Like, I will never say that Rob Zombie is a great filmmaker, but he did release some really good music throughout his career, and that gets used in Twisted Metal. Meet the Creeper is actually the opening theme to Twisted Metal 3, and I think a remix version of Dragula is the theme for the first stage.
No.
But you could tell that the series is starting to take more of like a dark turn to it. They're just not fully committing to it. So, whereas the first two games had this theme of like chaotic evil, but still kind of lighthearted, the third game doesn't really feel like it has an identity. It feels like it's just piggybacking off of what we've already done and done better previously. Then you get to Twisted Metal 4, where Calypso actually gets ousted as the person running the tournament. Sweet Tooth is now in charge of the tournament.
Oh, no.
He takes over.
Somehow that's worse.
Yes. Now, granted, he still does the same, I'm going to mess with your wish so that, like, you don't get exactly what you want. But now it's, I don't know. Like, Twisted Metal 3 and 4 are weird, because in the first game where Calypso's twist on the wish would be evil, but it would be for his own amusement, now it's like twists on his wish would be really weird. Like, for example, I told you that in the first game, Outlaw wishes to be in a world without crime, so he gets sent into space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the second game, his sister wishes, I think, to, like, see her brother again, and Calypso twists it so she gets sent into space, but then she rockets back, so she and her brother are going to come back and get revenge on Calypso. Twisted Metal 3, they enter, and if they win the tournament, they wish for a world without crime, and Calypso grants it, and all it does is make the world crime-free and they're out of order. Which is, like, the silliest ending ever.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of the wishes...
Oh, no, they're out of work. How are they going to get out of this one?
Yeah, it's
They're
like...
out of work. How are they not going to do crime? They got to steal to eat.
Well, no, it just shows them on the
No,
side,
like
begging.
They just, like, wouldn't you just apply for another job?
No, they would sit on the sidewalk holding a beggar's cup and a sign that says donuts.
No, they're on the government cheese line.
Yeah, pretty much. It's really weird. Another example of this is in Twisted Metal 2, there's a secret character called Minion. And Minion is actually a demon from hell who's been winning the Twisted Metal tournaments by using his demonic power to power up his tank. He drives a tank.
I knew something was up with the little yellow things.
Yes. In Twisted Metal 2, when he wins, he actually, like, Calypso's deadly afraid of him, and Minion throws Calypso into hell.
Ooh.
Okay.
But in Twisted Metal 3, when Minion wins, he asks Calypso to be sent back to hell, and then gets sent to Hell, Michigan.
Okay, that one's actually funny, but yeah.
And not really, because then you see the visual of it, and it's just really awful.
Okay, fair.
Twisted Metal 4 kind of continues this. Like, for example, you could play as Calypso in Twisted Metal 4. And if you play as him and you win the tournament, he wants to be in charge again, and then he and Sweet fight, and then there's an explosion, and I think they both die. A lot of the endings are kind of...
ambiguous?
Well, forgettable, I should say. Also, there's some weird things in Twisted Metal 4, which... You know how there's, like, that constant debate of, like, how do you judge comedy of the past? Like, do you judge it by today's standards? Do you judge it by the standards back then?
Mm-hmm.
So, back then, in Twisted Metal 4 first came out, there's a character that's gone very much under the radar and hasn't been in any other Twisted Metal game since, and probably understandably so. This character is called Drag.
That's kind of funny, though.
Yeah,
I assume Drag Queen drives like an F1 formula car, like a drag racer, or
Like a dragster.
I don't even remember what Drag Queen drives, but the idea is that Drag Queen
is a drag queen,
right? But not like the kind that you would see on like RuPaul's Drag Race. Drag Queen, like, you remember that like really fat construction worker from Rama in the episode where Fry had the parasites that made him like all muscular and talented at stuff?
No.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so imagine like the stereotypical balding construction worker, 5 o'clock shadow at all times, even if he shaves, just wearing like a big like yellow wig and a dress.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Divine.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a long story, but let's just say that there's some history to this shit. And that's who that's a parody of.
Yeah. I mean,
probably the character in the game is only slightly less disgusting than some of the shit Divine used to get up to in the movies. In the movies that she was in. Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't really know. But, so, Twisted Metal 4 had like some weird aspects that just felt, you know, like, all right, they need to do something new. You get to the PS2 era, and also the PSP era. I mean, there was another thing like Twisted Metal, but it was like the kid version where they're all driving RC cars and they just have nothing but comical endings. And Calypso is like the neighborhood bully, make wishes happen somehow. Which honestly,
I find that to be an entertaining concept.
Yeah,
it's like
that
backyard
game,
Twisted Metal.
That game
Where's
actually,
Pablo? We need Pablo Sanchez.
That game did poorly when it came out, but in like later years, it's gained a new appreciation with the fans because it actually is well done. There's also a game on the PSP, which is considered the true sequel to Twisted Metal 2, where things actually kind of align with what happened in Twisted Metal 2. Like, for example, when the Outlaw siblings win Twisted Metal, they actually do try to take Calypso down, instead of just wishing for a crime-free world like they did in Twisted 3. So, Twisted Metal has had some weird bumps on the road in the PS1 era.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I didn't even mean that. No, I swear, if I wanted to make a pun, I'd be like laughing about it right now. Twisted Metal then goes to the PS2, and you get the entry called Twisted Metal Black, which had a canceled sequel called Twisted Metal Harbor City, which we're not going to get into. Twisted Metal Black was where they decided, let's have a solid theme this time, and instead of chaotic, evil, and silly, it's chaotic, evil, and dark. A lot of the characters...
Oh, so it's just a miserable, sad game.
Well, yeah, but it's done well. For example, they take Sweet Tooth, and they actually turn him into like a real psychopath now, like he's an axe murderer kind of thing. They explain that... Now, one of the features of Sweet Tooth is that he doesn't have hair. He has like an eternal flame on his head.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In Twisted Metal Black, they explain that, this is like a curse that he got from being a serial killer, and Calypso offers him the way to get out of it, which is, you drink this blood and it'll cure your curse. But if you ever kill again, the curse comes back, and Sweet Tooth decides, well, I don't want the cure, and then he just kills Calypso. Calypso doesn't look like his normal self either. He just looks like he almost looks like Hitman 47 with like a scar over his eye. Then there's stuff like
There's Star.
well, there's another character called Dollface, and her story is one of the saddest ever. She actually doll manufacturer, and when she messed up, he put like this doll's mask over her head that he had the only special key to.
Oh, literally the man in the iron mask, but the woman in the
Plastic mask.
yeah.
Yeah, and her ending involves she could get the key, but in doing so, he gets trapped in an Iron Maiden and killed. And then when she gets the key, once she sees her boss dead, she gets like this like sense of relief and doesn't even want to take her mask off. So there's like a lot of dark themes in it, which it's a big it diverges heavily from the original source material, but I feel like it works to a really good degree. Then you skip ahead to the most recent one you saw me play, where only 3 of the characters...
Because I do remember Dollface, but I was like, wait, this isn't the backstory. I must be thinking of a different game.
Mm-hmm. So Dollface is in this, in the new one as well. Actually, no, before I get to that, one more character ending from Twisted Metal Black, because this one I found kind of twisted and weird. There's one of this woman who's like a bride. By the way, every character in Twisted Metal Black starts off in an insane asylum, and Calypso's offering them a chance to get out. So there's this weird thing that like they're all possibly imagining Twisted Metal, but also in Twisted Metal Black there's a theory that the whole events of the game are just happening inside Sweet Tooth's head.
So it's Sucker Punch the video game.
I was thinking.
Thank you, Tino.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch / Jacob's Ladder. The video.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting combo.
So there's I mentioned the other character, this bride. She keeps seeing all of her friends get married, so she ends up killing all of her friends who get married, and one of them is on her wedding day. She steals her friend's wedding dress, and it's covered with blood. And when she wins the tournament, she just wants the perfect man to marry her. When Calypso gives her her man, the man is there dressed up in a tuxedo, ready to get married. He starts carrying her off, and then he says the immortal words, even though he had brain surgery, so that he would love her, I will never love you, and then the bride kills him and drives off to find her perfect. So, really dark stuff. And then the most recent Twisted Metal you saw me play was on the PS3. I think it came out in like 2011, 2012.
Yeah. So, I mean, there haven't been any recent ones, really.
No. Which is a shame because I think like if you had the right studio making it again, like if kind of like how Team Silent made the original Silent Hill games, if you had like the original team for Twisted Metal come back and do Twisted Metal games, I think they'd be great. And if you have any of them giving input into TV series, I think it's going to be amazing. Twisted Metal, I'm just going to call it Twisted Metal 2012. Twisted Metal 2012, they decide that they're only going to have endings for 3 characters, Sweet Tooth, Mr. Grimm, and Dollface again. And Dollface isn't a mistreated worker. She's now a fashion model who wants to be on the biggest runway. But there's a lot of weird stuff. Like in Twisted Metal Black, they introduced the preacher character who thought he was performing an exorcism, but it turns out it was baptism, and he ended up killing the baby during this. Yeah, so...
How do you mix those two up?
Because he thought he had a demon in his head, and then it turns out he was just schizophrenic or something. Now,
okay.
Yeah, this preacher comes back in Twisted Metal 2012, and you go through the game, and the game is like kind of long and drawn out and has all these weird action sequences in it that like kind of feel like they don't belong in Twisted Metal. And perhaps the only payoff of the game is when you get to the actual ending of the game, where they reveal something about Calypso. And it starts off like midway through the game, the preacher has like a firearm and he's looking at Calypso's tower like he's going to try to bring a reckoning to Calypso. And at the end of the game, it starts off like this radio call where someone's calling a radio talk show talking about the Twisted Metal tournament and how bad it is, and everyone needs to start protesting this thing. And someone, the radio host is like, "That's just the thing. Where are all the protests? Where's everything that would like let you know that this thing exists? Like there's nothing here that would indicate that Twisted Metal's real." So it's almost like this big conspiracy theory in a way. Then you see the preacher, and he's locked away in a padded room. Which, okay, maybe it's making you think maybe it is all in their heads. Kind of a nod towards Twisted Metal Black. But then it zooms out, and you see the asylum he's in. There's thousands of these padded rooms that only have like a window but no door. Then it zooms out even more, and you see like cages hanging from long chains with people trapped inside of them. And all these people are screaming something similar. Calypso, let me out. You can't keep me in here. Then it zooms out even more into this fiery hellscape.
And that's why I thought Calypso was supposed to literally be the devil.
In Twisted Metal 2012, he is, because when it zooms out, you see this fiery hellscape. Then it zooms out more, and then it shows you like, oh, that's all taking place inside a room in a castle, and you were looking through the window. And then it zooms out, and it turns out that's a painting in Calypso's office.
Okay, that's nuts. That's actually good. I am intrigued now. I wonder what the next game will tell us. Oh wait.
Turns out the paintings in the hallways of Hogwarts are really horrifying. If you go to hallway.
Forget Hogwarts. That's some Super Mario 64 shit.
Oh yeah. So
I mean, they might tell the story in the TV show, because when you were talking, I went on Wikipedia and they did greenlight it this month.
Oh.
So,
okay.
So
it is going to happen.
So that's interesting. They need to get they honestly need like a gay James Gunn type or some guy who's done like trash B-movie style stuff. Because the thing about pulp style stories is that they can usually 9 times out of 10 they are very disposable. But in that they being disposable, they also have room to experiment. This will only work as a TV series if the guy who's making it gets a chance to be weird.
See, what I'm hoping for the
source
TV
material is already weird, so.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the thing. He needs to. The adaptation can't just
match the weird.
Exactly. It can't just be a retelling of the games because, as Will has just stated, that's kind of pointless.
See,
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to Raccoon City. Yep.
I'm going to say something here that might be a bit controversial. I think the director they should get for the Raccoon City, or not Raccoon City, the Twisted Metal TV series, on the condition he's not allowed to cast his wife in anything, is Paul Anderson. Now, hear me out before you kill me.
You have
Go ahead. I mean, I almost agree with you, but go ahead.
I'd like to see Paul Anderson do it because what I would like to see from Twisted Metal is a mix between Event Horizon and the movie Slither, where you have some of like the crazy mess up themes from Event Horizon, but also some of the wacky like horror comedy from Slither in a way. I think that would mix perfectly with characters like Outlaw, Mr. Grimm, Mr. Slam, I think I said Outlaw, and Axel and all them. But then the Event Horizon stuff I'd like to see for characters like, Calypso, Minion, Mr. Grimm, Sweet Tooth. I'd like to see Sweet Tooth be like this psychotic clown where he's not necessarily a serial killer, but maybe he has like a voice in his head that wants to be the serial killer. I'd like to see something like that happen with it. But the one thing I'd really like to see done is I'd like to see an expansion and a fusion of these two themes. The Calypso we had in Twisted Metal 2 and the Calypso we had in Twisted Metal 2012. I think having Calypso be this flamboyant, charismatic, I'm going to screw you over kind of character would be simply amazing. But I'd also like to see a more dark side to him. Like in Twisted Metal 2012, right after you zoom out of the painting, you see a shot of his office. And in that office are items that represent characters from all the previous Twisted Metal games. One of the things that he does as well, like in Sweet Tooth's story in Twisted Metal 2012, Sweet Tooth being a murderer, he killed his own family. And at one point, I think it's like his daughter manages to get away from him and escape him. So his wish at the end is just to be taken to where she is so that he could kill her and finish killing his family.
Oh, I remember this.
And Calypso says, done. He snaps his fingers, and Sweet Tooth wakes up in a coffin buried 6 feet under the ground because his daughter had been dead for years. So he was trapped in the coffin to die. At the end of Twisted Metal 2012, Calypso shows up at the grave. And he digs it up, and he throws like clown outfit stuff into the grave and says, your hatred is too pure for me to let you waste away rotting in that hole. And then you see someone crawl out, and it's actually Sweet Tooth's daughter, and she's the new demented Sweet Tooth character.
Which would have the promise of his Twisted Metal 5 we never got.
Yeah. It's
So I am going to disagree with you on your director's choice for one reason.
Sure.
It should be James Gunn.
How about a collaboration between Paul Anderson and James Gunn?
Ideal.
How about the director of Mad Max Fury Road?
You know what? Yeah. I can see that.
How about Tom Ellis as Calypso?
Why does he sound familiar, but I can't remember him?
Lucifer.
You know what? I don't know if I necessarily...
Yeah, from the TV show.
Okay.
I don't know if I necessarily want him.
Maybe too sexy.
No, I just think that his acting would be perfect for it.
I also kind of got like a bit of a Matthew McConaughey in the Dark Tower vibe from Calypso.
Matthew McConaughey's not a bad idea.
Too expensive.
All right.
Yeah,
No, Tino, you're right. That would be ideal. Too expensive.
You know what?
Chris Pratt. We'll just cast him as everything.
No.
Chris Pratt works pretty cheap, apparently. Or
If he
maybe doesn't, I don't
wasn't,
know.
if he wasn't too old, or if they're willing to do the right makeup, I'd actually like to see Doug Bradley as Calypso.
Why does that name sound familiar? What the
Pinhead.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Because if you think about it, he kind of already played a similar character in being Pinhead. And if they keep him more on the level like he was in the first two Hellraiser movies and not like he was in Hellraiser 3 or any of the subsequent ones, I think it would be an interesting take on the character. It's a mix of the chaotic, evil, goofiness with the sinister, hey, I have millions of souls locked away who can't escape and are begging for me to release them, and I'm not listening.
Yeah.
Like I said, it'll be interesting. We'll have to follow the production of this closely and see what they do.
Yeah, I don't think they cast anybody yet. But they
No,
have,
I think they cast Will Arnett as Sweet Tooth.
Tommy Wiseau as Calypso.
Let me see.
No.
Oh, God. No.
I will
He would
not
just
let
steal-
you out, Mark. I will not.
He'll just steal all the money from the production and run.
I
So
don't see any actors on this, but
you said it was just greenlit this month. Will Arnett was in as a green light as part of the deal to get it greenlit. I imagine they have to do pre-production and then casting.
yeah, well, March 2019 was when they were talking about doing it, and they said it's currently in development. I don't know, like, what that really means. Like, it could have just been sitting in limbo for a while.
Yeah,
But it says February 2021, the Twisted Metal TV series is moving forward with Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick helping to develop the series.
If it hadn't been for the last 2 years, I'd say it was in development hell, but who knows?
yeah.
It does say Will Arnett as executive producer or something.
That means he got Sweet Tooth's role.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, EP is a role that's typically given to you. If you get a big name, you make them EP in order so they can get a cut of whatever you make.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'd have to look up to see what the showrunners have done prior.
Yeah.
And then we will have to see what happens in development. A TV show is actually a better medium for a lot of games than film, because a TV show can, if you fuck up the first season of a TV show and you manage to get a second season because they comes back to deal, you have a chance to course correct.
Yeah, sure. Well, you can do that in a movie too. But it's just that there's more constrictions there.
Well, no, you can't do that in a movie because you only get one, because you can course correct per the reactions of audiences.
Yeah, but you can do that in TV as well.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. You can't. You can do that TV. You can't do that with a movie.
Unless you've got a movie series.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I mean, why wouldn't a movie's reaction also be an opportunity to course correct?
Well, no, because there's no guarantee you're going to get greenlit for a sequel.
Yeah, but you're not guaranteed to get a greenlit for a season 2 either.
You're more likely to, because usually seasons are greenlit as package deals.
I mean, it's supposed to, but movies are the same way.
I mean, like, you can get a
not
pilot
usually.
show, but you can get like a pilot episode, but you can't really get a pilot movie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a
Aragon,
fair
for
point.
example, Aragon sucked.
Yeah,
So I'm actually gonna push back on that, because I have this is just because when I over the past couple of years I've moonlit on a couple of small indie films, and what they would do many times is they would shoot a pilot for the movie as part of their pitch package. Like, they would either shoot a scene or they would, do something. They would create something to be like, hey, this is kind of the concept for the movie, and here's what a scene from it would look like. So they're still shooting a pilot, but it's not like an entire episode of a TV series.
So it's it's like a video version of a treatment?
Yeah, but not a full treatment. It's usually something like either something that explores the concept or something that would just be one scene. Like the film that I did a couple days on called Dust Nuggets did that. And it was it was very surreal, but then again the film was surreal, but that managed to convince the people they were pitching it to give them the money they needed in order to make the movie.
Well, so that's the thing, because things like that are not designed for public consumption. They're designed for pitch reels. They're designed to get investors interested. Releasing an actual TV show into the wild gets you reactions from the general public, gives you forum posts to pour over, gives you written reviews from critics and amateurs to consider what went right, what went wrong, and what direction you want to go forward.
Right.
I see.
I thought you were going to give me pushback to, about whether or not Aragon sucked, and I'm glad you didn't. Thank you.
Oh, no. Well, I have no opinion because I never read the books. I only saw the movie, and I was like, well, people are telling me this sucks, and I have nothing to compare it to.
It's so
okay.
derivative, too, and not in a great way. It's bad.
That sounds like
it's a movie based on a book. Isn't that the definition of derivative?
I think derivative in the case of it took its visual inspiration very directly from some existing properties at the time. But that is a big podcast topic for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can complain about something that happened in the early 2000s.
So
Damn you early 2000s.
So if I'm gonna cap off this discussion of Twisted Metal, if they're gonna start casting for this thing, I have 3 casting recommendations: David Morrissey for Calypso, Michael Roker for Sweet Tooth, and Ving Rhames for Axel.
I don't know what any of those guys are currently doing, so maybe they can afford them.
I mean, David Morrissey was the governor in The Walking Dead.
Well, like I said, what they're currently doing.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, I think that level of evilness from the governor, like,
I'm thinking strictly in terms of availability.
Oh, I think they would be available for this. I haven't seen David Morrissey in anything.
You just call Ving Rhames, be like, hey, what are you doing Saturday?
Look, he was in Piranha 3D and Piranha 3DD.
Yeah, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, he's totally available at this point.
Yeah, he is free. Possibly in more than one way. Damn.
Oh, throwing shade at Ving Rhames.
Anyway, well, thanks for that. Thanks for that topic, Will.
Steve was not amused. He did not enjoy that discussion of Twisted Metal.
No, I did. It was insightful. You know what it is? I haven't played Twisted Metal in a very long time, and that's probably true for a lot of people.
Yeah, it doesn't help when the game they haven't really had a game release in a while, and the last release they had was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, in over a decade, I was going to say.
Yeah, the last game I played was Twisted Metal Black, and I skipped Twisted Metal 3, and there was a 4th game, right, before Matt Black?
Yeah, that was the one where Sweet Tooth was the Calypso role.
Yeah, it was a big jump from like Twisted Metal 1 and 2, and then I just went right to Black, and I'm like, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, the themes really changed between both games.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, it's just been a very long time, but when I heard that a TV series was being developed, I'm like, oh man, that sounds really interesting. That could be really enjoyable.
Well, especially
depending on what platform it's going to be on. If they're getting like HBO Max money, could be good.
Also, considering what they've done with things like like Pacific Rim and Mad Max Fury Road, like, not that I'm expecting like the budget for these cars that they put into the Jaegers from Pacific Rim.
Mm-hmm.
But if they take like any of the practical effects or anything, like, I'm sure they could come up with some like really inventive vehicles, which is a big part of the draw of the series.
Well, we'll see how much money they get.
And if they don't get the money they need, they can always just use BeamNG Drive.
Oh my god. All right. So, Steve, Nintendo.
Oh, is it my turn now?
Yeah, I'm throwing the ball to you.
I would like to, before Steve launches into it, I'd like to give us an announcement that will get us kind of semi-canceled. Except
keeping in the theme with every episode that we do.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
Everything kids,
is
it is always morally right to pirate Nintendo games.
Ooh.
Oh, wow, okay. So, I'm expecting the lawsuit from Nintendo in 3, 2, now the video just got demonetized.
Yeah, we're getting a cease and desist.
You're assuming it was monetized in the first place.
Well, we're not?
No, my Switch just got up and walked out the fucking room. Damn.
Yeah, what's the C and D letter in my inbox?
Hey, how come
Sweat's an emulator?
Hey, how come my special edition Zelda 3DS is just turning into dust like Thanos snapped his fingers?
Well, because all of your games are going away.
Oh, is that all?
I say this is a man who owns a shocking amount of Nintendo merchandise and consoles, who loves their video game output, who thinks that they release banger consoles and they do amazing things with underpowered systems in the modern age. This bullshit, it's morally right to pirate their games. Steve, you may take it away.
I was about to say, Steve, why don't you explain what's going on for context?
Yeah, so we've talked about this in the past about how Nintendo doesn't care about their customers and their fans. Well,
we've also peripherally touched on it when we talked about the Sony thing.
Yeah,
It's a similar issue.
It is a similar issue. So a few days ago, was it yesterday? It was yesterday, right?
Yeah.
They announced that they are closing the Nintendo 3DS eShop and the Wii shop.
No, Wii U.
The Wii U shop, I'm sorry. The Wii U shop. The Wii shop has already been dead. So closing these two shops effectively will not allow anybody to buy anything from those consoles anymore. And what's important to note here is they've been putting a lot of their old games out on those shops. Like 3DS has a whole bunch, Wii U shop has a whole bunch.
The entire virtual console brand.
Yeah, the entire virtual console brand. So it spans a wide variety of Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, and the like. So now that these shops are closing, the opportunity to buy those games is now gone. Now, the people that did buy those games when the shop was up can still get them and still download them. For now, we don't know how long they're going to keep that service. I thought
the shops weren't going to close until March of next year.
That's true. But the point of the article is that it's happening.
Yeah,
and they intend to go forward with it. And when the idea was brought up of, well, what's going to happen, I bet, with those games, and how are you going to release, old content going forward? And that was when they brought up the Switch Online service, which they've been doing a fairly okay job with. I mean, they've been releasing some pretty solid titles. However, a lot of that stuff I don't know. A lot of those other games that were on the other shops they're probably not going to be shown on Switch. That's just my gut feeling.
Let's not mince words. They're abandoning a lot of things on the 3DS and the Wii U.
They are. They really are.
For putting aside the virtual console stuff, because there's always a chance that stuff could be ported up and put on Switch Online, but that's a chance. It's not a promise. There's also a bunch of 3DS games that never got physical releases. There's a bunch of Wii U games that never got physical releases.
Yeah,
they are basically saying, hey, did you ever download those Phoenix Wright games? Nah? Get fucked, brah.
Yeah, or buy it on Nintendo Switch.
Oh, but I'm sure it'll be available in the cloud. Come on, guys, who doesn't love the cloud games?
Play in the cloud. Yeah, play Kingdom Hearts in the cloud. I'm sure that will go really well.
Yeah,
our Nintendo Online service is A+.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. So instead of buying the physical copy of Kingdom Hearts series, which is terrible anymore,
it's worse.
Now you're only going to get to stream it on your console and not even own it.
It's worse than that. So, on the PS4, and by extension the PS5, are the Kingdom Hearts HD collections. 2 massive collections containing basically every single fucking Kingdom Hearts game that's ever been goddamn released.
Yeah.
You know what the top amount you're going to pay for that is for 10 fucking games?
I
can actually answer that.
It's like $40.
Yeah.
I can
both.
40.
No, I can answer. I actually bought a PS4 physical disc of Kingdom Hearts: The Story So Far, which was every Kingdom Hearts game except for 3, and I got it brand new for $30.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now we know what Kingdom Hearts is worth, the entire franchise.
But
except for 3 and Remind, all the games that are on the Switch that you don't even get the full versions of because you have to stream them, $60 a pop.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ! So they're releasing the Kingdom Hearts series on PC as well, and it's going to be on the Epic Games Store, our favorite platform.
Yeah, well, you know,
I'd
rather take Epic right now than fucking Nintendo.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. However, it seems that these games are being sold for a lot of money. So
yeah,
the 1.5 and 2.5 remix is $49.99.
Yeah,
and
well,
Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue is $59.99.
Well, if you can wait like a year, and if you can wait a year, it'll drop.
What the hell is Melody of Memory?
or what?
Oh, that's the
rhythm game.
The Switch exclusive rhythm game.
Yeah, the rhythm game. Dude, this is
also is story important.
Dude, this is an audio surfer, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, yeah.
Kind of.
Hey, guys, I have an idea.
Oh, it's Groove Coaster, too. Do you see this shit?
How about instead of waiting for the price to drop, you just, I don't know, do what I did and spend $30 for the story so far on PS4, I'm sure you could get a used copy for $10 at this point.
Oh, dude, that's what I did. And because they're old-ass games, I could just download them straight to my hard drive and not take up much space.
Yeah. It's like, all right, so I want to kind of offer a counterpoint to an extent here about the Nintendo thing. I'm going to do pros and cons of how Nintendo's doing this because I looked into this a bit. All right. And I'm basing this, I'm going to base this kind of on our prior Sony discussion. So, I think there are some good things about how Nintendo's handling this. I know that's a controversial thing to say. But here's the good things that I'm seeing. They're announcing that the stores are closing March of 2023. So you have more than a year to get time to figure out what games you want to own, get the money to buy them, buy the games for whatever systems that you happen to have still, and get them while you can. The other good thing about Nintendo consoles is, as far as I know, there's no CMOS battery issue. So once you own the games, it's not like you'll ever be like time chip locked out of them. And unless Nintendo ever decides to be truly evil and release a patch that makes you unable to play those downloaded games, you'll at least have them forever. Now, the bad things about this are that Nintendo, here's where I think they really screwed up with this. If part of their announcement was, hey guys, we don't have any definitive plans yet, but over the next 6 months, we're going to let you know, like, if you have games on your old consoles, how to port them onto the Switch and any future Nintendo consoles, so that if you already bought them, you could keep bringing them over. You don't have to rebuy them. Or, hey guys, on the Switch, did you buy this game? If you could send us something from the prior console you had it on, you know, we'll send you a download code to get that game for free because you already bought it. Or even like, oh, did you buy it before and you bought it for like $20? Well, show us proof of that and you could re-download it for like $1. Which, yeah, you're still spending money, but it's heavily discounted. But do that and then make the games completely yours. Like, you own them. It's not like you're renting them or you're streaming them or any of that stuff. You know, make it where you can own them and then there you go. That would have been a great move. But we all know Nintendo doesn't like that because look at what happened when they released the NES Classic and the SNES Classic. They were hugely popular, but Nintendo's like, we don't want to make too many of these because then people will have like, you know, 20 of our games for like $60. So as soon as they did their limited runs of both of those, like, Nintendo is one of those companies that has one of the last few surviving Stalinist philosophies where, like, once something's gone, they wipe the history books of it. If you go on, like, the Nintendo website, you can still find some shit about, like, the Super Nintendo.
I disagree for one purpose. They'll be happy to remember it exists when they're about to release a new thing from that.
And I'm going to disagree with that on one thing. Try going to the Nintendo website and finding anything about the NES Classic or the SNES Classic.
Oh no, it's because
do they not sell it anymore?
It's because
they don't sell them at all anymore.
Yeah, Will, you will hear a bunch. You'll hear a bunch about those when the N64 Classic finally comes out, and it won't be to buy them. No, they'll just be like, after the successful release of the NES and the SNES Classic, we want to do that again. Here's the N64 Classic.
Fuck you, Nintendo, I'm using the fucking Wayback Machine to find those links.
Wow,
so here's
the NES Classic is $200 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Fuck that, because, hey, what's up?
Well, I mean, I have one too. You gotta plug that into your LCD display.
Actually,
look like ass.
Nah, brah. She got a fucking CRT in the bedroom.
Well,
Yeah,
also,
right
Steve,
screen.
you could also, because I've done some research on this, you could actually go on Amazon and get like converter cables for your old consoles. And
yeah, I know. Upscalers exist. I know.
Like the fucking SNES Classic and the NES Classic are just Raspberry Pis and custom shells.
Yeah, no, I know.
But it's something where it's like, you know,
they run RetroArch, or they can.
Yeah. So I'm happy I got them when I did. Right now, I'm just looking to get like wireless controllers for them, so it's easier for me to play them and not like sit 4 feet away from my goddamn television and actually go like the extra 20 feet that I need to get to my couch. But I I think Nintendo, the one thing they do really badly, and we've been touching on this, it's they don't like to preserve anything. It's like it's up to the fans to do it. I think Dave has said it in the past. Dave, you said in the past when preservation, isn't being done by the company or something like that, piracy becomes
is a moral obligation.
Yeah. And again, I look, I've been on this podcast saying I don't necessarily support piracy, but I do understand it. Like, look, when Sony got blasted for how they were handling shutting down the PS3 and stores and everything because of the CMOS battery issue, they agreed to keep the store online for now. Now, granted, they're covering up the issue by not addressing it, and it's still a scumbag move, but at least it's like, all right, you're not going to be locked out of your stuff, and now people are being made aware of this. But
also,
I think,
didn't they issue a patch?
Not that I know of.
I thought they did. I thought that there was a thing about a PS3, a PS4, and a PS5 CMOS patch.
I'll have to look into that because I haven't really heard anything about that. But if they did, then you know what? Because I said this before. If they patch it, then not all is forgiven. But okay, Sony, you learned from your mistake. Good on you. You're at least trying to recover. But Sony, I think, is one of those companies that is willing to try to listen to fans in that regard, mainly because they're still fighting the classic console war. They still are going head-to-head with Xbox on a lot of things.
Okay,
so,
I want to stop you for a second. There's a pain that I just felt in my soul when you said classic console war was PlayStation and Xbox.
No.
And it's just like I felt gray hairs form.
No, Dave, you're misinterpreting to a degree. I'm not saying that they're classic consoles. I'm saying they're fighting the console war with a classic mindset of, well, the console wars originally were like Nintendo and Sega. That's how Microsoft and Sony are fighting it, with that kind of old mindset. We have to compete for the same gamer base. I think the problem with Nintendo is that when they realized they would never win the console war like that, and they decided the only way to win was to become innovative and unique and do their own thing, and they came out with the Wii, that was when their ego exploded because it was hyper successful. And
they slayed the giants. They were on top of the world and then they fucked it up.
The Wii, the DS, the 3DS, not you, Wii U,
and they just did it.
And the Switch were all massive successes, and it was because they did innovative shit. And it's like, hey, we can just rely on our own first-party stuff, and we're the only place where you're going to get it, so people are going to buy our systems.
And by the way, they've replicated the Wii success with the fucking Switch. Like the Switch has outsold the current gen of consoles from the other two systems.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and Switch has an insane third-party support. And that wasn't very true when it came to Wii U, and even to the Wii in a lot of respects. Because people said it was super hard to develop for the Wii.
And like the basis OS for the Switch, which is ironically one of the reasons we're having these problems right now, is Android based. So it's really easy for them to finish this out. I'm
sorry, go ahead.
It's really easy for third-party developers to work on it. Maybe not for all the games they ported to the old architecture, which is part of the problem.
I have a thought going back to Nintendo and the whole what is it? The not preserving their video games at least in the digital space. I think it has a lot to do with Japan's huge secondhand market. Secondhand market is absolutely huge in Japan. I don't know if anybody knows that, but there's the endless shops of people selling old video games. Not just like the ones that only sell video games. There's secondhand stores that sell furniture and stuff like that, and then in the back corner there's like video games. So it's a really big market over there. And it's mainly because Japan just really takes care of their shit. And when they're done playing a game, it's well preserved, it's in great condition. They sell it for a couple bucks, they get some money, and then someone else can enjoy it. And I think Nintendo is very much they really hold on to that sentiment. And when it comes to the digital space, they can't really do it the same way. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sell a digital game to somebody. At least there's no way right now to do it. I'm sure we could come up with a way.
Oh, there's a way.
But I don't think Nintendo would ever want to invest in something like that.
No, but Steve, there's a way. We saw it when people downloaded the playable demo for Silent Hills and put it on their PlayStation 4s, and then they sold their PS4s for like $5,000 online.
Yeah, well, that was an emergent market that Sony wasn't really prepared for.
Yeah, just like that Flappy Bird incident. Like,
the Flappy Bird iPhone thing.
Oh,
that was funny too.
Yeah, what was the Flappy Bird incident?
So Flappy Bird was an app game where they took it off the App Store because it used assets from like Super Mario World.
No, that wasn't the reason.
Yeah, it's because the dude was just like, people are getting addicted to this.
Yeah, no, the guy who made it literally requested it be taken off because the success was the success of it was like terrifying him.
I mean, I wish I could have success that terrified me. No, I wish I could have. I wish I had success that terrified me to the tune of getting $50,000 a day. Wow, what a horrible fate that is. Man, I wish that would terrify me for the next 50 years.
So, in the dude's defense, because Vicky's right, it was part of the addiction, he was initially like, yeah, I'm getting $50,000 a day. And it's literally, you're getting $50,000 a day, and then you look out to the left, and you see the ghetto that your crack has created. And it's like, I did that. Analogy. And he's like, because he was watching people get hyper addicted and hyper angry at the game, and he was just like, okay, no, I can't live with this on my conscience.
Well,
yeah, but people found a way anyway.
Yeah,
so at least he didn't feel so bad about it.
So what happened was, Tino, when he took the game off, people were selling their phones that had Flappy Bird on it to people, and it could be like, I forget what the most recent iPhone was at the time, but if you had like the iPhone, I guess 4 or 5 or whatever, but someone was selling like an iPhone 2 that had Flappy Bird on it. Like, people were buying the iPhone 2 for like $6,000 to play fucking Flappy Bird.
Right.
Yeah, because they had to get their fix, man.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
We've had this discussion before because it's a conundrum about how you are supposed to preserve digital cultural artifacts, especially when the way the model is set up. Some executive can flip a switch on the other side of the world, and something that you had access to, you suddenly don't have access to. And I really don't like that model. Like, you can't see it because I'm trapped in a laundry hamper, but outside here, like, you know, I've got a shelf with all these books. My dad's got more books than we know what to do with. We don't have to worry about those going anywhere unless the house burns down, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
physical media is always superior to digital.
Yeah, you're talking about license to own is the new emergent way to distribute software or games in general to people.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I went ahead and paid like $120 for the complete Battlestar Galactica because I was like, oh, wait, it was on Netflix and now it's not on Netflix and I still want to watch it. So what do I do? I have to own it. I have to physically own it.
Hey, guys, you got to have a playable NFT.
No, don't. Let's not get the crypto argument is for a whole separate thing.
So here's the thing. It's I fully understand what Tino's saying. Oh God. So,
I'm just gonna
but I fully
James.
So just so you know, this is a problem for which.
Well, now you'll just look like a demon.
This is a problem for which.
So wait, Vicky's
blockchain is not a solution.
So wait, Vicky's a demon? Is she Calypso now?
I can do it.
Oh God, Calypso would be the type to get into crypto, wouldn't he?
Not only would he be the type to get into crypto, he would run Nintendo and he would make them do exactly what they're doing right now.
Oh my gosh.
That's
so
evil.
you wanted to be wealthy? Well, I hope you enjoy all these worthless apes.
Anyway, Nintendo kind of sucks in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Nintendo sucks. I hate them, and I look forward to Breath of the Wild too.
So here's
it's like it's like fuck this game. See you tomorrow.
All right, I got an interesting idea now, guys. What is one if you knew Nintendo would absolutely listen to whatever you tell them, you could give them one piece of advice on how to salvage this new announcement of theirs, what do you tell Nintendo in order to make them salvage this scenario?
Well, they wouldn't listen to me because I'm a gaijin.
No, but
yeah,
in this scenario, they have to listen to you.
They have to listen.
They have to listen to you.
I would say they need to release franchise collections, and I mean full collections that are not temporary. And they need to port them to every console and update them. Make it a fucking annualized release. I don't care. Make a Mario collection, a Zelda collection, a fucking Metroid
Mother
collection. A mother, I in my dreams, babe, but no.
Okay.
But basically,
sorry. Go ahead.
But basically, it exists to be another thing that people can either download and or buy. And whenever you have a new release, like a new Zelda game, a new Mario game, a new whatever the fuck game, you can also say, hey, you want to get caught up on the history? Here's our collection. Yeah. That shit can fit on a Switch cart. You put all the Metroid Prime games on a goddamn Wii U disc. You could definitely do that to a fucking Switch cart.
And they kind of used to do that. Remember in Metroid they included like the first Metroid game, and that did they include the second game? Maybe just the one. Yeah. But yeah, I mean they were kind of doing that at one point. Like I think the biggest thing they have to do is any game that doesn't make any revenue for them anymore, like fucking Excite Bike for NES, just put it on the Switch for free. Like you're not losing any money by doing that. You know what I mean?
There is kind of for older games, there's a development cost for porting it over to the newer system.
It's an emulator. You know what I mean? Like it's really not that difficult.
I mean, I'll admit I don't really know how to do that. So I don't know what would go into porting it. But if it's just an emulator, then yeah.
It depends. If they do a full-blown remake of the game, because there are sometimes they do choose to do that, that is the cost of a new game development. But Steve's right.
I'm not talking about remakes. I'm talking about play the original in the way the original, worked. The same way you would with an emulator. Like my advice to Nintendo, if I could give them advice, would be, for every game where they actually have the rights to it, because I know that there's a number of third-party games that were developed on their platforms, but they presumably they have a library of all of their first party. All of their games. Presumably they have a library of all of them. Okay, keep that library and you can either sell access to specific games on it or have some kind of a monthly subscription and sell access to all of it, and for every and you can have a version of it that would work on every console capable of running it. Now, if we're talking, SNES stuff, okay, well, that runs on an emulator. If we're talking about something, that's running on the Switch, well, obviously you wouldn't be able to download that for the Wii U, but it would just be like you could make it like a Nintendo Plus or something if cost was a prohibitive factor.
So that's kind of the idea
behind
want
to play these games.
So that is kind of the idea behind what they're currently doing. The issue, I think, is one of rollout, and it's possible that this entire podcast will be made redundant in the next couple years if Nintendo does step up what they're releasing on their Switch Online shit.
What they need is a retro Game Pass. That's what they need, because a lot of like Nintendo games, they're first party. Like they don't exist on any other platform. So they have a huge library in their arsenal that they could release and just make a retro Game Pass for Switch.
Yeah, and that's my point. People will pay for that.
But like massively expand it. Like get me Paperboy 1, get me Chrono Trigger, shit like that. Just put it out there.
Like I said, I think that's was supposed to be their eventual intention, but because Nintendo is allergic to the concept of the internet. Sorry, Vicky, you want to say?
No, go ahead. I just have a point after that.
Because Nintendo's allergic to the concept of the internet, they got to do it as slow. They got to do it at the rate of molasses.
I agree. So that kind of brings me to my point. So, Will, you said that they have to listen to us, right? In this instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what everybody says, I super agree with. I think everybody's right. But I think, I don't know, it might have been because I was also a pirate kid. So, decriminalize pirating software if it's from systems that are no longer supported.
So the problem is Nintendo can say great. The counter problem is that's not actually them. You have to get that approval from the government of Japan, the government of the United States, the government of basically every country has to make that okay. And that actually leads into, unfortunately, one of the reasons I think Nintendo is such a hard ass about this. Which is...
Well, I think Nintendo's just an asshole. That's
agreed.
So Nintendo is an asshole, but there's, I think, a reason why when, like, fan games show up and fan projects and piracy show up, they stamp down with a hammer. And that's because, for some reason, in the U.S., you have to vigorously defend your copyright. Because if someone can demonstrate that, oh, you don't actually give a shit about it, you may have a chance to lose it.
I mean...
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I will say, though, that I think that Nintendo has a bit of a fragile ego, too.
Yeah.
That's a part of it. That's definitely a part of it.
You know, a modding team makes a game better than what they could make. Like, you remember when they made that Return of Samus mod? Not mod, it was like a remake.
No, another Metroid 2 remake, and they were just like, this dies.
Yeah, it was so much better than the 3DS one they put out, in my opinion. I thought it was much better made.
I think that the reason they stamped it out is because they were already working on Samus Returns, and that
makes sense. Yeah,
and when this came out, they were like, "Oh, this sucks. We just put all this money into this foreign developer to make this shit for us." Yeah, no, this dies. But
I feel that if Return of Samus never came out on 3DS, I think they would have killed it anyway. Because that's just what Nintendo does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I think it comes down to the fragile ego thing. They're too proud of what they make to let anybody try and make something else, whether it be a tribute or a parody or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it kind of makes me think of, when I was developing my game, I was watching lots and lots of Unreal Engine 4 videos to try to figure out how to do anything, and that led me to some incredible replicas of Ocarina of Time that somebody had made in Unreal Engine 4. And I just remember watching these videos thinking, man, this is beautiful, and I'm never going to play it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that, because they did release a lot of videos that I think I know what you're talking about, and yeah, it looks gorgeous.
I don't think those were ever intended to be a full game. I think they were just tech demos.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
I know, but
insane.
it's the kind of thing where you're like, you almost wish that somebody would give this person some money so that you could play Ocarina of Time in 4K with PBR texturing and anisotropic scattering and all that kind of cool stuff.
So I do got one for you that's interesting. I'm not going to name names. I don't think they listen to our podcast, but if they do, you're going to know who this is when I discuss it. A friend of mine showcased to me a project he worked on many, many years ago, because the friend is a huge fan of Castlevania, and he's also a huge fan of Zelda. And there's one side-scrolling Zelda game that he knows, which is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. And he had a project to update the sprites and to update the movement and to basically make it play a bit more like a Castlevania game, but still basically be just a Zelda 2 upscale. And
I would play that. I always loved the temples.
And he had a sprited out version of like Ocarina of Time Link to be the player character. And this project never reached fruition, and he's glad because he's like, we could feel Nintendo's lawyers getting closer to us as we worked on this.
Is this the same guy who made that game where like it's like a hot potato game? Is that the same guy?
No, different dude.
Okay, it's a different guy.
You have met this guy, but I'm not going to say his name while we're recording, out of respect for his privacy.
I think
testing on the Wii led
smart
to some disastrous results for the furniture in the room.
So, if I had to throw my hat into the ring and tell Nintendo what to do,
you're wearing headphones, Will.
Yeah,
that's not a hat.
You don't have a hat.
You know what? I thought you had an actual point to make here, Tino.
That was my point.
So I would say, all right, here's what you do. You follow the Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home models, where pay a certain amount each year, and you get an account. And every time you buy a game from like a Nintendo system, and you can hook it up to old systems just to, build up the library of games you bought. For like, let's say for like $50 a year, any game you bought on the Wii, the DS, the 3DS, the Wii U, the Switch, that all gets cataloged. And then when the new game comes out, you have two options, or the new system comes out, you have two options. You could either hook your new system up to the internet and have it downloaded onto your new system, or the new system comes with like a cable that connects that system to the old system, and you can just transfer it over the way that you could transfer data between two 3DSs.
There are systems where that wouldn't work.
I would.
That wouldn't work for like an SNES, for instance, because there's nothing to plug into.
No, but if you're talking about it doesn't work for the SNES. But if you're talking about I bought this SNES game on my 3DS, and now I can port it over to my Switch or the Switch 2.
Basically a living virtual console, much like a living Pokedex.
Yeah, and make it where from now on, whenever you have a new system come out, whatever the virtual console was for the previous things, it just now you add it in, so the virtual console now exists for that new system, and eventually when you phase out the old console, that's when the virtual console for that console gets phased out. So the Wii gets phased out. The virtual console for the Wii gets phased out, but it still exists for the 3DS, Wii U, and Switch. Well, you want to phase out the virtual console for the 3DS and the Wii U. Okay, that's fine. It still exists on the Switch, and you can still transfer everything over. And if not, I will send my Magic the Gathering Godzilla trading card to attack Nintendo's headquarters.
I don't know about that. Why can't we just have a subscription version of that? I know you're saying that it's kind of like a subscription, but it's more like a point system. But I feel like that's too cumbersome. That's just my opinion.
So because think of it this way. Here's why I think Nintendo would go for it. Because let's say the average person buys let's just say 20 games per system. I bought all these SNES games on my Wii Virtual Console, right? And then on your Wii U Virtual Console, you bought 20 N64 games. Yeah, you're not rebuying the games if you transfer them over, but you're paying them, let's just say $50 a year to have the option to keep transferring them over. People do that for Pokemon Bank already. And if anything happens to your console, the reason why you keep paying is, let's say your Switch crashes and all the data gets erased, right? Well, now Nintendo, because you're paying into the subscription fee, your system crashed and all your stuff got deleted. Don't worry. Log into your account on your Switch once you got it booted up again, and all your stuff will re-download and you'll have it all again. Maybe not the save files, but you'll have all your old games again.
That's like an iCloud account.
Kinda, except you're not relying on the cloud to play the games. You're just relying on it to get your games back if anything catastrophic happens.
Yeah, it's like metadata. Well, it's if you
it's like a subscription-based Steam.
Yeah, if you buy a new iPhone and you upload all of your photos to the cloud, and then you get a new phone, they just re-download to your new device.
Yeah,
but I think the difference is, well, maybe not so much now, but N64 is a very different console compared to Switch when it comes to the controller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that's much of a problem anymore, because I think we kind of figured out what works as a controller now. The 4 buttons on the top, and then the 4 on the side, and then D-pad and analog. So, I mean, I guess it could work. I didn't even know that Pokemon Bank was a thing. I found out about it in the fucking article. I was like, what the fuck is Pokemon Bank?
Before Pokemon Home existed, Pokemon Bank. The smartest thing that the Pokemon Company ever did.
So Pokemon Bank's just like a fucking PC in the Pokemon world. You put your Pokemon in there and you can transfer them.
It literally was created so that people could transfer their Pokemon off of their DS cards to play in the 3DS games. And then Pokemon Home meant that they could transfer them from the 3DS games to the Switch games.
Yeah, okay.
But
I got it.
there's
That's why they referenced Pokemon Bank in that article, because that's going away.
The issue, it's the reason why people were so mad when Sword and Shield couldn't render all the Pokemon.
Well, the other thing too is that you can still transfer all your Pokemon to Pokemon Home. You just can't bring them into Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that when you transfer from Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home, it's a one-way transfer. You can't send them back.
Oh yeah, no. Anytime you send them up system or to a bigger system or a more recent system, it's one way. You can only carry them forward. You can't carry them back.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, Will, about the whole, I only buy 5 games a year, for example, and I don't want to have to overpay for a subscription for games that I wouldn't pay anyway, or I wouldn't play anyway.
But you also wouldn't have to overpay for something like Silent Hill 2.
Yeah. Well, I think that makes sense. I agree with you there. I still think that just having a subscription service for all these old games that they don't make money on anymore, I think it makes all the sense in the world just to have a pass that you can play all those old games. Just like a huge fucking list. Just be like, I want to play an NES game. And it'd be like, all right, what do you want to play? And you can just scroll. Like all those fucking dumbass games that you downloaded when you pirated all those NES ROMs so many years ago.
Can you imagine someone getting the subscription pass and just playing every bad game reviewed by the angry video game nerd?
Yeah, I mean, that could be some immersion content.
Somebody just playing E.T. over and over and over again.
Conan the Barbarian.
People already fucking do that, man.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I have a copy of Fester's Quest for the NES. It's literally right over on this shelf.
Why do I get the feeling I know what Vicky's going to recommend when we finally get around to her recommending a game for this thing?
Yeah, obviously Simon's Quest.
Oh
wait, actually, we could always do Battle of Olympus.
There's also
I don't even know what the hell that is.
There's also the Bible game for the original. There's the Bible game for the original Game Boy.
Oh yeah,
God.
Bible games are great. They always had the different looking cartridge too.
How about we play the Bible game where it's literally just reading the Bible?
They have those. Those exist.
That was part of it, but there was.
I know, that's why I said it.
Well, no, there was, but there was an actual gameplay component.
Yeah, the one where Noah.
No, you were like Noah, and you were just grabbing up all the fucking animals.
Yeah, he's carrying like 4 cows over his head. No, forget the Incredible Hulk. Noah was just a jacked beast, and then make sure you get the right snakes, not the ones climbing the trees. Those are poisonous and they'll hurt you.
Not the gay snakes. Get the straight snakes.
Wow.
Let the gay snakes on board. They got the scarlet letter.
We're definitely getting demonetized if we ever get monetized.
We're never going to be
getting monetized.
Noah, your bunny rabbit's here. All right, send them in. Now you can bring the bunny rabbit on this arc now. I need it.
I need it. Oh, man, it's funny. All right, well, that was a good podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I think where we call it.
Oh, wait. Fuck Cloud Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, not even regular Kingdom Hearts. We got a whole new level of fuckery.
Vicky, is that really how you feel? And don't lie to me or I'll know.
Hey.
I gotta be active on maintaining
Cloud Kingdom Hearts is a character. He has a rough life. Leave him alone. Fuck Kingdom Hearts in the cloud.
Oh, so by the way, I talked to Flora, and she said that she's mildly interested in joining the podcast for as a special guest kind of deal.
Yay!
I realized that having 6 people in one podcast is a lot, but
honestly,
it's a potential idea.
Here's the thing:
if Giant Bomb can do it, we can do it.
Well, Steve,
it's not all that difficult to sync. Once I have all the audio synced up, it's not really that hard.
And
it's not a technical difficulty. It's more of a way too many voices in one room.
Well, the other thing too is that when we started the podcast, part of my idea for it was that we'd eventually have other guests from our college days on to kind of reminisce about the old times. Just haven't gotten around to it yet. But Flora would be a great proof of concept, guest for that, because then once we have her on, we can have people like Mai, maybe Rachel.
Am I stopping recording?
Johnny Touchdown, Dan and Tori, Marquise.
I could get Evan on here. He's starting his new job soon. He's going to be a translator for a mobile game.
Nice.
So that'll be cool.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Yeah, I mean, what?
I'm gonna stop recording now. I'm like, should I stop? Am I stopping?
Oh, you're stopping recording?
No, we're still going.
So all this is
We're still going.
So all this planning shit's going into the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we do things.
Here's the behind the scenes look.
Okay,
we
I
basically
stopped for
just
2
do what we
seconds.
always
Sorry,
do.
Tino.
Talk to each other.
But
Flora would be a good litmus test because she's very wild, and I feel that if we can wrangle in that kind of chaos, then we can take any guest.
Steve,
easily,
control
yeah.
your wife.
I can't, man. She's too wild.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. Now, Steve, when you have her on, is she gonna be in a different room like Dave and Vicky, or are you gonna have her next to you?
Yeah, I mean, she has a nice webcam and a nice microphone. She actually has the same stuff as I do. I think her webcam's a little bit worse than mine, but she has the same microphone as I do. So yeah, it could work out.
Yeah.
And she has Razer headphones now, so it's all good.
I do too. That's what I'm using right now.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah, she's got like black and green ones.
So, all right. So, since we're talking about planning, right before we end this podcast, everyone who's watching, please stay tuned because the next after this episode, the next projects we have coming up are obviously episode 3 of season 2, but also our reactions to Welcome to Raccoon City.
Oh boy.
As well as
I think we're gonna. We can't even put that on YouTube, can we?
No. Here's the way we do it. We could just show like I guess the title screen of the movie, and then not show the movie itself, but just show us reacting to certain parts, and occasionally just show like a frame from the movie that we're reacting to. And I think we can make that work.
Or we do the riff tracks thing where we have a little beep that like goes, "Start the movie now."
Yeah, you know what? That's a good idea.
There's a way to do that kind of thing that won't run afoul of YouTube because there are reactor channels all over the place.
Yeah. So that
Okay. All right, fair enough.
that'll probably be Saturday, March 5th that we do that. Also on that day, once we're done torturing ourselves with that terrible movie for about 100 minutes, Tino will be playing the very first Resident Evil game.
I apologize in advance.
Oh, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Tino, you know who owes you an apology? 1990s Capcom.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they apologize for nothing.
You know, we really should have played. We should have played Dino Crisis.
Yo!
we'll get there.
That game is wild.
We will
I
get
have a
there.
copy
we
of
will
it.
Get there.
So
Resident Evil 1 is a good starting point, though.
I
Yeah.
have a
It's
feeling
not
that I'm
too-
going to play all of the Resident Evil and Resident Evil inspired games.
Well, here's the thing.
It's not difficult of a game, number one, and number two, I think Will and I both have the game completely memorized. So, if you get stuck-
hold on, I gotta
hips-
amend you. Steve has the game memorized. I think the way that because Resident Evil, the first Resident Evil game, is the one that I know the least well of the original trilogy. So I think the way we'll do it is, Tino, I'll give you general hints, and then when you're stuck, Steve will give you like the specific walkthrough stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have Resident Evil 1 through 3 memorized. So
Yeah,
Steve
I have 2 and
will
3
get to
down.
Resident Evil
Steve
3,
will
then
expertly guide your hips.
Yeah.
I've watched enough speedruns of those
Context,
games that I know
phrasing.
exactly where everything is.
You know exactly where the context is, and it can get shoved anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, bye, everybody.
All right, yeah, bye.
Bye.